Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this out there on the World Wide Web. Our very next Cloud Expo Power Panel, we've got 3 of the heaviest hitters. We've intercepted them. We're trying to look at the cloud from every which way, as we always do. I'm not going to waste any further time. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with John, sir.
Hi, my name is John Engates. I'm the CTO at Rackspace Hosting, and we're a leader in cloud computing, and we are now enabling folks to build their own clouds, both public and private, with the OpenStack platform, the very same software that we built our cloud on.
There you are. See, eating in your own kitchen. Next up, we have Darryl.
Hi, my name is Darryl Brown. I'm Director of Cloud and SaaS over at Telx. We are predominantly a cloud connection center where we allow cloud communities to connect to each other regardless what type of cloud you are, be you a network, be you the internet, be you a IaaS provider, or somebody like my friends over here at Rackspace.
Oh, you see, they are budding up already. Last but absolutely not least, Terry.
Thank you. Founder and CTO of PerspecSys. I'm Terry Woloszyn, and we are enabling enterprise cloud adoption, especially in light of privacy, residency, and security concerns around sensitive data.
No easy task. Let's use our usual rules. We're here on a Cloud Expo Power Panel, which means we need overview as well as under the hood. John, it's 2011. What is new about the cloud in 2011, sir?
Well, I think our perspective on what's new is really the possibility that that clouds will be built on open source and open standards. I think historically we've seen a few sort of enablers for cloud computing in the form of commercial software, proprietary software, if you will. And I think our vision and our view of the world is that from here on, 2011 on, the world will start to revolve around and center on open source.
And this was always coming, right?
It was always coming.
It's just crystallized in 2011.
That's exactly right. So OpenStack is one of the components that we've played a large role in, but you also see other organizations getting involved with Facebook. This year launched the Open Compute project, where they're open sourcing their data center designs. They're open sourcing their server architecture. You can now build the very same servers that that Facebook uses, and we're actually testing those with OpenStack today. So really, you're starting to see this ecosystem of open source solutions starting to emerge to build clouds.
Okay, so data point number 1 for those of you following this at home: 2011. Open clouds. Darryl.
I think on the back of that is, along with the adoption cycle, we're seeing the connectivity of clouds evolving, the hybridization of clouds as enterprise start looking to build cloud, embrace cloud solutions for true enterprise deployments. That's a combination between on-premise, co-located, managed, and say an open compute platform.
But again, Darryl, we were always seeing hybrid coming, but you're saying it's crystallizing, perhaps.
Yeah, I definitely think it's crystallizing. This year we're seeing a lot more of the enterprises move from test dev environments, start looking at how can I embrace it. How can I also get choice? How can I connect many different clouds, many different applications together, and secure it as well as support my legacy systems? There's a lot of legacy out there that's probably not going to go away in a hurry, but it's going to continue to exist, so now it needs to be connected. And I think that's making a big difference.
All right,
as well.
So take home number 2. Darryl's nomination is connectivity and enterprise becoming real. Terry.
Well, looking at it from an enterprise perspective, which is where we're playing the most in terms of the cloud adoption, what we're seeing is almost a perfect storm starting to emerge, with this becoming the deployment platform, being coupled with all of the cloud provisioning and management that's emerging. That is changing the way we are developing, deploying, and managing applications from an enterprise perspective. The challenge, though, is the security aspect is scaring the stuffing out of the CXOs who want to move to that, but are realizing I've got a platform now that I don't have control. I no longer have a network perimeter to worry about ingress and egress of dangerous traffic or sensitive data. I no longer have control over some aspects of that data or the application itself. So while we're seeing a technology sea change to the way we're developing, deploying, and managing and locating our applications, at the same time we're seeing an ever heightened sense of awareness and concern over security, which is actually starting to dampen or have some enterprises even pull back on some of their initial cloud initiatives. So that's the mixed up future we're facing.
But same thing there, Terry. Mobile was always there. So what is it about 2011 that's making this perfect storm, that these things are coming together? This is a free-for-all. I mean, there's something about right now. Take your point about the security. Unfortunate with Sony, unfortunate with Honda. We'll get into some of that later on. But optimism is out there. Cloud is out there. So what are the factors? Is it within businesses?
Well, I'm going to take a first swing at that. What we're seeing is a whole new generation of users and basically the enterprise adoption, recognizing a social networking view on application development and deployment. I mean, you got
so in terms of ease, in terms of accessibility,
ease, the psychology
speed,
of
right,
it. You know, I mean,
let's get on with it already.
Yeah, the kids are putting all their information out on Facebook right now. Those kids are now 20-something, 30-somethings that are being hired in these enterprises, and they're going, "This is the way I want to work. This is the way I want to live." So it's almost taking the boundaries away between my home life and my work life. It now all becomes my life, and my life is out on Facebook. My life is out on Twitter. My life is out on those social networks. And work now needs to conform to the way these people are operating. And that's what we're starting to see. The platform deployment of that just makes it ubiquitous. I can now take my tablet and do everything and anything I need with my tablet. So now we're starting to see the notebook and netbook markets wane and tablets rise and the smartphones rise as we get into that ultra mobility and accessibility into these applications.
That makes sense. I mean, this is social technology now. It's our favorite socio-technology, no less.
I think what we're starting to come on the back of that, though, there are also the challenges besides the security, right? You know, if I'm in my office, I expect all these applications to perform as if they were built and deployed in my office, right? They've got to perform.
We want the best of all.
I've got the best of all. But when I'm on the road using my cell phone or my iPad or my BlackBerry or my Verizon Wireless Android phone, I may be a little bit more acceptable on the performance, but I still want access to the same data. I still want access to the same apps. And I, as a user, want my IT department to allow me to use all these platforms, physical platforms that are available to me. But I have perceptions on how I expect them to perform. And I believe that's a bit of a challenge for the cloud providers as well as the IT departments. You know, how do I build a cloud platform that is within proximity to these user bases, yet secured, and performs the way they're going to expect it to perform? And I believe that is quite a challenge. We're seeing it with some of the large application deployments, application providers today that have 3 or 4 data centers around the globe. And that's the combination between the latency, the connectivity, and the security place that we need to look at.
Now, what interests me as an anthropologist of technology is that you talk about challenges and your eyes light up, which has always been my experience. So is that not true, John, that part of this, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a renaissance in enterprise IT, but it's a renaissance in enterprise IT. You guys love cloud. And it's because of the challenge.
Yeah, no, I think we're running headfirst into the complexity, the technology, the things that customers want us to solve for them. I think we were on the topic of why this year, why now, and I think the software is sort of the thing that was missing for a long time in terms of clouds. I mean, you had the technology in the sense of servers and data centers. Every enterprise has that. What they didn't have was the software that enabled them to build their own social network or their own scalable platform or their own whatever it was that Twitter and Facebook and Google had. It really wasn't available to the enterprise before. Now, I guess. I mean, there's not one point in time that I can point to, but the pieces are starting to fall together to enable people to build their own tools that sort of mimic and allow them to do the things they want to do that would enable the consumerization of IT. The platforms that we're enabling with OpenStack are the foundation for platform as a service, for software as a service, for other kinds of things that you might want to offer as a service. Those tools weren't really available before to enterprises, and enterprises are now starting to figure out, man, we need to get on board with some of the same kinds of things that the big guys are doing.
And then, because we kind of rushed past it and we better circle back, amid all this optimism, we have had some of the worst data catastrophes this year than ever before. And that can't be just a news cluster thing that, like fires in strange places, you suddenly get a lot of them. This is really happening. So Why would that be in 2011? Why has suddenly the attack surface become cloudy? If that's the reason, I'm not even sure if that's the reason.
I guess it becomes a question of who's the attacker. We're starting to see a lot of nation states institute cyber commands and cyber warfare strategies, tactics, and if we look at Stuxnet as the example, it may very well be that they're already launching some fairly sophisticated attacks where Stuxnet is just the beginning of what we're going to see. We could take a look at the RSA / Lockheed Martin attack, where now it's never mind blended attack. This whole thing was a choreographed strategy. Start here, get the keys to the front door of the real intended victim, and go from there. I think every cloud vendor and security provider then has to recognize, wake up, and go, oh, we now have a responsibility to our customers as well. We better make sure that we're stepping up our security in addition to helping our customers ensure their security. So security is going to be a big, big, big concern.
But Terry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's not really a cloud issue, is it? It's just a data
Cloud
security
exacerbates
issue.
it.
Okay,
Cloud exacerbates it, right? Because now there's this perceived loss of control over the data, over the management of that data, over the management of the infrastructure, over the management of the stack, the whole 9 yards. Everything, because, like you said, the entire attack surface has just been magnified and amplified, and furthermore, not even in some cases accessible now to the IT folks who were originally on the hook for managing and maintaining and controlling that.
Right.
I've now ceded that control and that accessibility and that manageability out to a third party. And now the only thing I've got, if I'm lucky, is an open enough partner vendor that will allow me to either read their own audits or audit to make sure that they're meeting the standards and the requirements that I may have to meet my regulatory compliance requirements for my jurisdiction, my sector specific, whatever the case may be.
John, how much does OpenStack have to concern itself with that?
Well, I think certainly any software platform has to be sort of inherently secure. I think we have an advantage in that we were, the software itself is taken out of the government space from NASA. So NASA had a piece of the software inside their world to begin with, and so they took sort of the steps required to make it government friendly, I guess, in terms of the security requirements. They wanted to be ready day one. But I think the fact that it's being developed in the open source community helps because it puts a positive spin. You know, a lot of times you talked about who's doing the attacking, and sometimes the people that are doing attacking are attacking more than just the business. They're attacking the idea of a with Sony, for example, they were attacking the idea of locked down hardware and the going after the guy that was the hacker that sort of opened that hardware up. So they were really going after the philosophy, and I think open source is always tends to be on the good side. On the good side. So it's a helpful thing, but it's not bulletproof. I mean, you do have to think that at some point they're going to look for holes and gaps in the software. But again, the good news is it's being developed. It's being vetted in the open source community. People are looking at the code day in, day out. Big organizations of every flavor, and that does help sort of bolster the platform and harden it to begin with.
Darryl, when you were speaking, I know you seem to connote this wonderful world of multiple clouds and interconnectivity. Is that real here in 2011, or is that a dream for 2020?
I'd say right now we see the internet, right? It's the ubiquitous access platform to cloud environments, right? So the internet is pretty much the ubiquitous, but at the same time, by the internet being the ubiquitous entry point to the cloud environments, it's great for your cell phones, it's great for your iPads, it's great for those kind of things. But it does introduce a bigger front to the point if you're looking at like an attack or any level of exposure. But what it also does is it makes you start to think about, now, how do I connect that front end back into my back end? You know, which pieces of my enterprise infrastructure do I need to secure? How do I secure it? Do I keep my data on my on my devices, and do I encrypt it and deploy it, say, within somebody else's cloud? Do I leverage multiple cloud providers to spread my risk? You know, security is all about, am I a target, number one, right? You know, me personally, I may not be a target myself, but my organization may be. So you have to assess your security requirements, and I don't think the connectivity on the back end is going to drive risk. I do think on the front end, yes, there's a potential for risk on the accessibility perspective. But you identify where you deploy it, how distributed your deployment is. You know, sometimes a distributed deployment is more secure than a centralized. You know, we saw that with the Amazon situation, right? that may help alleviate some of the security concerns, as well as the back end side of it. You spent all this money on these private backbones. You should use them.
John, when Terry whips out his iPhone like that, wearing your Rackspace hat, does that give you a sense of joy?
Oh, absolutely.
I thought it might do. This is just a numbers game.
I mean, every application that's on the iPhone tends to have nowadays a back-end infrastructure somewhere that it connects to.
Sure.
The data has to be stored somewhere. The computing has to be done somewhere. And Rackspace tends to be a place that a lot of software as a service applications get their start. And so we certainly look forward to the day when more and more of these applications are hosted in the cloud. At the same time, there's obviously challenges with security, and we're doing our part. We're doing the best that we can on our side to enable customers to have security all the way up the stack, but there's only so far we can go. So there's an element of what we can do to make sure that the platform and the underlying infrastructure is secure, but we have to partner with our customers to take it the full, to the end zone, to the goal line. So the point is, this is sort of a partnership between software as a service makers and infrastructure providers and network, connectivity vendors and everybody in between. We all have to figure this out together, and there's no magic bullet to solve all of this. So.
No.
Terry, what do you say to the doubting Thomases who say, Mr. Woloszyn, you clearly have a vested interest in that security holes are never plugged in the cloud? What do you actually, in all seriousness, say to that? I know you want to make enterprises more secure. I know that's a damn lie. And yet, from a business point of view, I can see there might be some truth in it. You need holes.
Well, the nice thing is, I'm not going to go make holes, but there will always be holes. You said something really good just a second ago. You might not think that you're the primary target. But the reality is, if you're doing this for a living, whether you're on the IT side, the customer side, the end user side, the infrastructure provider side, whatever the case may be, we all have targets painted on our backs. We always will have targets painted on our backs, as long as there's money to be made in accessing those systems and thieving it. Or it's just the script kiddies who still want to have fun. The reality is, there will always be these attacks. And so, I'm almost adopting a warfare type of philosophy, studying, von Clausewitz on war, going, okay, the best thing you do is prepare your defenses. In war, it's the defender that is in the strategic advantage. And the nice thing is, right now, what I'm helping enterprise do is prepare their defenses. And they will always have to prepare their defenses. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I mean, when we walk around today, I walked into a travel agency, and they actually had RFID transparent envelopes for my wallet, for my credit cards, for my passport. That's the level of individual concern people have, where I'm walking through a mall or an airport and people are RFID snarfing my wallet and my passport to steal my identity. That's the level of paranoia we've reached in society today. We're all under attack. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's great. It's going to propagate for the rest of our lives.
Snarfing. I never thought we'd get onto snarfing here on a Cloud Expo Power Panel, but we did. All right then, look, we're kind of out of time, so we've got to think. We did 2011. We've obviously got to think about 2012. But you know what? Never mind 2012. Give me 2020. It's our 2020 vision time. John, we've got to start with you. 2020, where will we be at, cloud-wise?
Well, I go back to the mobile device as being sort of the enabler of what's going to happen in 2020. I had a vision the other day when that computer beat the guys on Jeopardy. The IBM computer, massive horsepower, was sort of battling it out with real humans on the Jeopardy show. And I imagine the power of that computer being in the palm of your hand, not necessarily all in your hand, but all enabled by the cloud. The cloud will be the gateway to knowledge that is just beyond our capacity, and the capabilities are just going to be phenomenal.
Oh, this is almost an epiphany. Darryl, top that, if you will.
I'm actually thinking about growing on top of that. It's because it's also the data component, right? We're in an age where every piece of data that's around, we save and store. right? So the data itself, you know, a single piece of data is, I've forgotten what the statistic is processed many times a day, right? That's oodles amounts of bandwidth, that's oodles amounts of processing. But as an individual, we want access to whatever that data is from any appliance, any device, wherever we are 24/7, right?
That's it.
And I think there's going to be a point where the data itself is secured and distributed in a way that we as users, we probably can't put our finger on it where it is. We just know it's there. And that kind of falls into the compute component. Wherever the device is in our hands may not have all the horsepower as well, but it has access to all that data. And we kind of lose track of where it is. That's what I'm kind of thinking. And look a bit further than that, it's probably going to go back into big data centers again.
The old cycle. Terry.
Well, 2020, I think we've all
we've
been
had a cyber
touching
war.
on
I
it.
fear that
Yeah. I think we're already in the middle of a cyber war. We just don't hear a lot about it.
No, I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah,
so
no,
people
absolutely.
know. Okay.
I mean, it's out there. We're seeing a lot of that. But not to dwell on that, I think 2020, it's exactly what these gentlemen are saying. I think that we're going to see the large compute domain, almost like a pyramid at the bottom, surfacing up information applications, regardless of whether it's games or business applications or everything, and it all becomes ubiquitous on everybody, 100% wireless, connections to whatever device is their preference. And that means that, Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma was absolutely right. This is a disruptive technology to the way we're going to facilitate and carry on business. The days of the office tower and the network infrastructure are fast disappearing. And so the way, like I said, that by 2020, what I see is this complete integration of your work life and your home life at that point because of this information ubiquity.
So there you are, the future of the cloud as mapped out by our three experts. We want to thank Terry Woloszyn, CTO of PerspecSys, Darryl Brown, Director of SaaS and Cloud for Telx, and John Engates, CTO of Rackspace. If you don't agree that this is the future of the cloud, I wouldn't bet against these guys. Very successful gentlemen. Thank you so much again for joining us here in Times Square, just on the eve of Cloud Expo, and thank you for watching this out there on the World Wide Web. This is Jeremy Geelan for SYS-CON TV saying goodbye for now. Thank you, gents.
Thank you.
This was very good. You see, you are a born